I wasn't supposed to be seen. At least, that's what I told myself when I hit leave meeting, but forgot one crucial thing. The camera was still rolling. At first it seemed harmless. I was alone in my apartment, the late afternoon sun spilling across my desk, my silk blouse clinging a little too closely after hours of sitting under warm lights. I leaned back, stretched, loosened my collar, and let myself breathe in a way I never would if anyone was watching. Because no one was watching, right? But that's the lie technology tells you. The blinking red light on the edge of my laptop had faded into the background, and I didn't notice. My body moved differently when I thought I was unseen. My smile softened, my shoulders dropped their armor. My hands wandered absent-mindedly across my skin as I drifted in thought. Vulnerability looks different when you think you're alone. And then, a notification blinked. Just a flicker on the corner of the screen. His name. A private message. "You know I can still see you, right?" For a moment my stomach dropped, heat rushing through me. Every nerve ending catching fire. He was still there. Watching. Had been watching. I froze, but not because I wanted to stop. No, because a dangerous thought struck me. What if I didn't close the camera? What if I let him? I couldn't move. My mind screamed to shut the laptop, but my body whispered something else. A secret I wasn't ready to admit, not even to myself. The air grew thicker, hotter, as I waited to see if he would say more. And then he typed again. "Don't stop." My pulse pounded in my ears. I stared at the camera, at the tiny eye that wasn't just a machine anymore but him. Present. Close. Too close. And that's when I realized, I had just crossed into something I could never take back. My breath caught, and for a split second I thought my laptop might explode under the weight of my silence. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air pressing heavy against my chest as though my apartment itself knew I just crossed a dangerous line. "Don't stop." Those two words pulsed on the screen like a dare. I should have laughed, typed something back, pretended it was a joke, and shut everything down. But my fingers hovered uselessly over the keyboard, trembling. He was still there. His eyes, though unseen, felt sharper than any camera lens, stripping away the layers I so carefully constructed during meetings, exposing something I never meant for him to witness. I adjusted my blouse, pulling the fabric tighter around me, but the movement itself betrayed me. It wasn't modesty, it was theater. Because even as I pulled the fabric close, my hand lingered just a moment too long, as though I wanted him to notice. And I knew he did. The chat box blinked again. I shouldn't be watching this, but I can't look away. A shiver rippled down my spine. There was no emoji, no exclamation mark, no playful tone, just raw honesty stripped bare. He wanted this. Maybe as badly as I wanted to give it. My rational brain screamed for control. Turn it off. This is reckless. Dangerous. Wrong. But my body betrayed me. I shifted in my chair, leaning forward as though closing the space between us. My lips parted but no sound came out. I wasn't speaking. I was performing silently with every tilt of my head, every subtle brush of my hand against my skin. Was I teasing him? Or myself? I imagined him on the other end, watching me in the dim glow of his own screen, his breath catching the way mine had. The thought alone made my pulse quicken. This wasn't a mistake anymore. It was a secret performance, an exchange no one else would ever know about. And then he did something I never expected. The video window split. His camera turned on. For a second I couldn't breathe. There he was, half-shadowed, his room lit only by the pale blue glow of his monitor. His eyes locked on mine, and I swore I felt them burn through the distance between us. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. We just stared. My throat was dry, my hands unsteady, yet I didn't move to close the laptop. Instead I leaned closer. The world outside disappeared. No notifications, no ticking clock, no neighbors, no consequences. Just him. Just me. And the dangerous thrill of being caught, yet not stopping. His eyes were steady, almost unnervingly so. I'd seen them before in countless meetings. Focused, professional, sometimes softened by a casual joke, but never like this. Now under the dim blue glow they were darker, hungrier. A mirror of the secret I was terrified to name. I swallowed hard, my throat aching from the silence. He didn't speak, and neither did I. Words would have broken the spell. Instead, it was our stillness that screamed the loudest. I shifted in my chair, pretending to adjust the angle of my camera. But the truth was, I wanted him to see more. The neckline of my blouse had slipped slightly during the long day, and I didn't fix it. My fingers brushed the edge, deliberate, and I saw the way his gaze followed. A silent confirmation. Yes, he was watching. My chest rose and fell quicker now, betraying me with every breath. It felt like the world was balanced on a thin wire, one wrong move and it would all collapse. Yet somehow I didn't want safety. I wanted the risk. The chat box blinked again. If you want me to stop watching, tell me. My lips parted but no sound came out. I should have typed. I should have ended this. But I didn't. I simply stared at him, letting my silence be the answer. And in that silence, I felt the unspoken contract seal between us. His hand rose, slow and deliberate, brushing across his jawline as though mimicking the same absent caress I had done to myself only moments earlier. My pulse quickened at the realization. He was mirroring me, testing me, so I tested him back. I leaned closer to the screen, tilting my head slightly, lips parted as though caught mid-thought. His gaze deepened, his shoulders shifting closer, like he was being pulled into the gravity of my smallest movements. We were no longer two colleagues separated by miles and screens. We were locked in a private current, a rhythm of glances, breaths, and subtle gestures that felt louder than anything I'd ever heard. But then he broke the rhythm. He typed again. What's your secret fantasy, the one you never say out loud? The question struck like a match. My breath hitched, my mind spiraling with answers I couldn't dare put into words. My skin prickled with heat, my fingers hovering near the keyboard, torn between confession and retreat. And yet, deep down I knew I wanted him to know. His words lingered on the screen like a dangerous spark. What's your secret fantasy, the one you never say out loud? I froze, staring at the blinking cursor in the chat box. My hands trembled over the keys, my heart pounding so loudly I swore he could hear it through the screen. This was the moment where a sane person would laugh it off, type haha nice try, and close the laptop. But sanity had already slipped out the door the second I realized he'd been watching me. My breath came shallow as I typed, then deleted, then typed again. I couldn't bring myself to write the truth, but I also couldn't lie. So I stalled, glancing back at him on the screen. He hadn't moved, but his eyes were locked on me, waiting, patient but insistent. I bit my lip, leaned closer to the camera and whispered, not typed, whispered so softly it was almost a secret between me and the lens, being seen when I'm not supposed to be. His reaction was immediate. His jaw tensed, his eyes narrowing just slightly, like I'd peeled back a layer of myself I was never supposed to reveal. For the first time he shifted in his seat, leaning forward until his face filled the frame. The intensity in his gaze made me shiver. You mean like this? He asked, his voice low, rough around the edges. My body betrayed me again. I nodded. Barely, but enough. Enough for him to know I wasn't joking. A smirk flickered at the corner of his lips, not cocky but knowing, like he'd just unlocked something forbidden. His hand lifted again, tracing the curve of his collar, and I mirrored him unconsciously, my fingers brushing against my own skin. The atmosphere thickened with a new kind of electricity, one born of confessions too heavy to be taken back. And then he said it, breaking the fragile air between us. I've thought about you before. The words hit me harder than I expected, leaving me breathless. I stared at him wide-eyed, torn between outrage and something far more dangerous, relief. Because the truth was I'd thought about him too. More times than I wanted to admit. Late nights after calls, stolen glances across meetings, the way his voice lingered longer in my head than it should have. The silence stretched, but it wasn't empty. It was loaded, brimming, impossible to contain. My chest rose and fell faster and I knew he knew that I wasn't going to shut the laptop. Not now. Tell me, he pressed, his tone softer now, almost coaxing. Tell me what you imagine when you think of me. My lips parted, my heart begging me to stop, but my body leaned closer instead. And I whispered the first dangerous truth. I shouldn't have said anything. Every instinct told me to laugh it off, to close the laptop, to let this dissolve into the night like a dream I'd never mention again. But the way he was looking at me, like I was the only thing in his world, made it impossible to hold the truth back any longer. I leaned closer, my lips almost brushing the edge of the camera, as if the screen could somehow carry my breath to him. My voice came out low, trembling but deliberate. When I think of you, I imagine you watching me. Like this. Quiet. Unblinking. Wanting what you shouldn't. The moment the words left my mouth, I wanted to snatch them back. My face flushed, my chest tight, the silence deafening. But then he smiled. Not wide, not smug, but slow and dangerous. Like he'd just been handed something precious he'd secretly craved all along. You have no idea, he whispered, his voice rough. How many times I've pictured this. A chill ran down my spine. My confession had unlocked something in him, and now the balance between us shifted. I wasn't the only one bearing secrets anymore. His camera flickered as he shifted closer, his face filling the frame, his eyes never leaving mine. I could see every detail now, the faint shadow of stubble, the tension in his jaw, the way his chest rose and fell faster than before. His hand moved, deliberate, resting just beneath his collarbone. He didn't need to say what he was feeling. I saw it. I felt it. And without thinking, I mirrored him. My hand rose to my chest, fingers brushing against the same place as his. It was absurd. Two people in separate rooms, separate worlds, mimicking each other through a screen. But it felt more intimate than if he'd been sitting right beside me. The silence between us stretched, and yet it was thick, pulsing, alive. My breaths were uneven, my body betraying every hidden thought I tried to bury for months. The what-ifs had turned into right now. And then he leaned even closer, his voice dropping so low it barely carried through the speakers. Show me more. My breath caught. The line had been crossed long ago, but this was something different. This was invitation, challenge, temptation. And the terrifying truth was I wanted to give in. Show me more. The words landed like a stone dropped into still water, rippling through every corner of my body. My chest tightened, my skin prickled, and my mind raced with every reason why I should shut this down. But my body leaned toward the screen, betraying me once again. I tilted my head, narrowing my eyes in a silent dare. If he wanted me to show more, he'd have to give something first. My fingers grazed the edge of my blouse, teasing the fabric, then I stopped, arching a brow. The game had shifted. He wasn't the only one who could demand. The corner of his mouth twitched into the faintest smirk, and then without hesitation he moved. His hand slid lower, his posture more relaxed now, almost provocative. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was letting me see him, the rawness, the vulnerability, the hunger. Heat spread through me. My pulse thudded in my ears, my body alive with the strange mix of danger and thrill. This wasn't just him asking. This was us, locked in a rhythm neither of us had scripted but both of us desperately needed. I leaned back in my chair, deliberately slow, letting the soft silk of my blouse fall against me in a way I knew looked careless but was anything but. My eyes never left his. I wanted him to see. I wanted him to feel. His breath hitched, and the sound alone nearly undid me. We weren't talking anymore. We weren't typing. The language was entirely unspoken, breaths, shifts, glances, subtle touches. Every move became a question, every pause an answer. My mind screamed about boundaries, about guilt, about how this would change everything come morning. But in that moment, morning didn't exist. There was only the glow of the screen, his eyes drinking me in, and the intoxicating rush of being desired so openly, so unapologetically. And then he pushed further. His hand reached toward the camera, fingers brushing the edge of the frame, as if he could step through it and touch me. Closer, he whispered. My breath caught. My hand hovered over the laptop, the rational part of me begging to close it, but instead, I leaned forward, so close I could almost feel him. And I knew with terrifying clarity there was no turning back. Closer, he whispered, and I obeyed. My face hovered just inches from the screen, my breath fogging the faint reflection on the glass. It was absurd, surreal. Yet it felt more intimate than any real touch I'd known in months. His eyes darkened as he watched me lean in, and for a long moment neither of us moved, like two magnets straining against the invisible space that separated us. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure he could hear it through the speakers. I lifted my hand, fingers trembling, and pressed them lightly against the screen. A ridiculous gesture, but in that moment, it felt like reaching for him. To my surprise, he mirrored me. His palm flattened against his camera, lined perfectly with mine. The illusion of contact sent a shiver racing down my spine. We both laughed softly, almost nervously, But it wasn't the kind of laugh that broke tension, it deepened it. The kind that said, we know exactly what we're doing, and it's far too late to stop. He tilted his head, his gaze never faltering, and murmured, I want you to remember this. Tomorrow. Next week. Every time you look at me on a call. The words burrowed into me like a brand. He wasn't just taking this moment, he was claiming the after. The thought of carrying this secret between us, hidden in plain sight during future meetings, nearly undid me. Heat coiled low inside me, my entire body alive with anticipation I couldn't contain. I shifted in my chair, my blouse slipping slightly as though my body itself was answering him before I could. And that's when I heard it. A faint sound. Not from him. Not from me. But from outside my room. I froze, my blood running cold. Footsteps. Someone was in my apartment. His eyes flickered, confusion crossing his face as he saw mine drain of color. I swallowed hard, my lips parting, but no words came out. What is it? He asked, his voice suddenly sharper. I whipped my head toward the door, heart in my throat. Someone else was here. The footsteps grew louder, deliberate, steady. My blood rushed to my ears, drowning out everything but the thundering of my heart. I whipped my head toward the door, every muscle in my body coiled with dread. His voice crackled through my speakers, low but urgent. You're not alone, are you? I shook my head, my lips trembling, unable to form words. Whoever it was had stopped just outside my room. The silence pressed in, thick and suffocating. My hand hovered over the laptop, torn between slamming it shut and clinging to the only pair of eyes that seemed to understand me in that terrifying instant. The doorknob shifted, just a subtle rattle, but enough to send a bolt of panic straight through me. I gasped, clutching the edge of my desk as though bracing for impact. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the footsteps retreated. Slow at first, then fading into the distance until the apartment fell eerily quiet again. I exhaled, my body collapsing back into the chair, every nerve trembling with adrenaline. My eyes flicked back to the screen. He was still there, watching me with that same unrelenting intensity, but now layered with something new. Concern. Possession. A dangerous kind of need. You scared me, I whispered, though the truth was I'd scared myself more. His expression softened, but only slightly. You don't get it, do you? He said. I've wanted this for so long. And now that I've seen you like this, I can't forget it. Neither can you. He was right. I already knew it. That night had changed everything. Tomorrow in the daylight we'd pretend it hadn't happened. Meetings would go on, polite smiles exchanged, voices steady and professional. But the truth would simmer beneath every glance, every pause, every stolen breath. And worse, I wanted it to. I leaned forward one last time, my palm pressing against the screen as though sealing a pact. His hand mirrored mine instantly, his eyes burning into me with the kind of fire that doesn't fade. We said nothing more. We didn't need to. The silence carried more than words ever could. And when I finally closed the laptop, the room felt impossibly empty. But inside I was buzzing, alive, haunted, and forever changed.